What's up? It's your boy Jeeves here. Welcome to the show where I make my wife read those books. So this week it was...
Words of Radiance.
Words of Radiance.
She read Words of Radiance, and you liked it, didn't you?
Yeah, this one was really good.
Cool.
I like Words of Radiance.
Words of Radiance, it's my favourite. I like to think it's my favourite. I would say it's out of the three, it's my favourite so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, shall we just jump straight into it? This is going to be part one of... This might even be three because you've written so many more notes.
There was more to talk about.
There's a lot more to talk about Words of Radiance. So this may even be a three-parter. We'll see. We'll just jump right in.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right. So, the prologue is the death of Gavilar.
Shockingly.
Didn't see that one coming. But this time it was told from Jasnah's point of view.
Yeah.
So Jasnah is walking down the corridor because she's going to go and meet her assassin.
Oh, yes.
Because she had her own assassin plot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. And as she's walking down the corridor, she notices that her shadow is like bending the wrong way. It's like going towards the light.
Yes.
So she's looking at it and she's like, huh, that's weird. And then it transports her to Shadesmar.
Yeah.
And she's like, what on earth is going on here? She manages to work out that she can turn the spheres back into the corridor.
Yes.
So she finds herself in the hallway again, but the hallway is dark because she's just used up all of the stormlight.
Yeah.
She's like, cool, that was weird.
Yeah.
But she keeps going. She goes to meet Liss.
Yes, Liss.
She's got two envelopes. One has, like, the assassination target.
Yeah.
And the other's, like, her backup plan.
Okay.
And for some reason, she sort of decided that she no longer wants to assassinate her target.
Yeah.
So she gives Liss the envelope and is like, this is my brother's wife. Watch her, because she's suspicious.
Yes.
And that's most of the prologue.
Yeah.
She reminds Liss that, don't forget that if there's ever a hit out on my family,
let me know.
Yeah. I will pay you double. And also that person's name so that I can take you to get a hit out on them.
Yeah.
Which is quite a great business deal.
Yeah.
And then she's walking down the corridor and there's like two, I'm going to say ardents, I can't quite remember.
I think they're just two party
guys.
Yeah.
They're having a strange conversation about a weird sword and like, yeah. So they know about my Nightblood.
Oh, is that what they were talking about? Which is
confirming that my Nightblood is going to appear in this book, and that makes me very happy.
So you reckon those two guys were talking about Nightblood?
Yeah, I do.
Cool.
They were talking about something.
They were talking about something.
And suspicious sword makes me think of Nightblood.
That's fair. Do you have any idea who those characters could be so far? Do you have any?
No.
You have no idea. Cool. We'll just keep going then, shall we?
Yeah.
Cool.
So the first character we meet in part one is Shallan.
Yeah.
Who is on a boat.
Yes, she is.
Having boat times. So she's on the deck and she's doing some sketches of the sailors and the things around. And this strange pattern appears on her page. And she's like, I didn't draw that. I don't know what you are. And then it sort of like disappears. And she's like, well, that was weird.
Yeah.
And she just keeps going. As she's drawing, Jasnah appears. They have a little chat about Shadesmar. So she tells her, they're talking about Spren, and Jasnah tells her that they're going to go to the Shattered Plains to meet up with the fam.
Yeah.
And whilst they're there, Navani is going to take a look at her soulcaster. She's going to try and fix it up for her, try and get it ready to send back home. And she also says, and whilst we're at it, it might be a good idea if you get betrothed to my cousin, Adolin, who it would make sense to be engaged to because he's like the top bachelor in the country.
Yes.
And she's like, yes. And Jasnah's like, oh, do you actually want to marry a guy? And she's like, yes. I hear he's attractive. And then I got mad at myself.
Yes.
Because this was foreshadowed in The Way of Kings.
Yeah.
And it took me too long to pick up on it. Because, like, there's a scene where Adolin sat around a campfire with his friends and, like, the women's.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, I don't know why she always dyes her hair dark. Like, light-haired girls are so attractive.
So you should have seen this coming.
You should have seen it coming.
You did actually pick up on that. I don't think you picked up on that.
Where it would go.
Where it would go, but you were like, Adolin likes light-haired ladies, hey?
Yeah. I feel like I failed myself slightly.
It's okay. I always liked that the whole plot of Way of Kings is Shallan trying to find a way to, like, get her family, like, wealth and stuff. And it was like, you're the ward to the Princess of Alethka. You can use that. You don't need to steal it. You can just, use the political implications of that. And,
But it's one of those things where she's so young and naive that
didn't even occur to her.
Like, she's never left her dad's estate before.
Yeah.
Like, she's never interacted with a boy outside of, like, family dinners.
Yeah.
She doesn't realise that she can just marry one.
Yeah.
Like, makes sense. So then she goes back to her cabin and she's doing some research, and Patton appears just on the middle of the bed, and he starts, like, circling the room, and she's like, this is weird.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and tell Jasnah. So she goes to open the door, and Jasnah's stood outside the door because Jasnah was about to knock. And Jasnah has a spreen in her hand.
As a little dude. She's got a little dude.
Ivory.
Yes.
Yes. He was adorable for
Ivory
like 2 seconds that you see him. And she's like, don't mind him. He's shy.
Yeah.
So Jasnah is now in the room.
Yeah.
And she's like, you do have a spreen now. That's cool.
Yeah.
And Shallan's like, I have no idea what's going on here. So Jasnah's like, well, it seems that we're both surge binders.
Yeah.
But we've got different orders because we've got different types of spreen.
Yes.
So we're not completely, like, we're not the same. We share the soul casting ability.
Yeah.
But we've got a different ability.
Yes. Because each one of the orders of the Knights Radiance, they get 2 abilities, which are then shared with the 2 orders next to them on the Knights Radiant chart, which I think you've seen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And then she says to her, tell you what, I was going to teach you about soul casting and all of that stuff, but that's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So until you're more confident with your abilities, we're just going to nope out of that one. Don't even attempt it without me. Like, it's not worth it. Just don't do it. And then she's like, right, from now on, you're not doing any more research on this trip. You're just going to bond with your spreen.
Just spend some time with Patton. Just have a good time.
It's not got a name yet.
Oh, was it not named yet?
Not named yet. So she is getting to know her spreen.
Yeah.
And she's been ordered to hang out with this thing that at the moment is just going around in circles on the floor.
Yeah.
And it hasn't got a personality. It's not talking yet. It's just running around in circles. And she's like, great.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, they have a great time together.
So she starts studying him. He starts to become sentient. He's saying like 1-2 word phrases. She's starting to sort of work out what he is. And then she goes to look for Jasnah to have a talk.
Yeah.
And she goes to Jasnah's door and it opens by itself. She had, like, when she goes to knock on it. And so she goes in and Jasnah's like slumped over her desk looking exhausted.
Yes.
And she's like, maybe I should go back out and pretend I haven't seen this. But Jasnah notices her and she's like, my door's broken. I keep meaning to go and talk to the guy about it.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing. I didn't pick up on that one either.
No.
They talk, and while Shallan was on deck learning about Patton, she made an illusion happen.
Okay.
And so that's what she goes to tell Jasnah about.
Okay.
Work that one out.
Yes.
So Jasnah tells her to keep focusing on making those illusions, see what she can do with it. Obviously, not even worth touching the soul casting at the moment. And then Jasnah gives her a copy of the Words of Radiance.
Yes, the
Because
in-world book.
that's the order that she's part of.
Yes.
And she's like, this will teach you about the order you're in. And Shallan's like, oh, this is really cool. I'm a bit tired right now because it's very late, but I'm going to take it and I'll read it in the morning.
Yeah.
So she goes back to her cabin to sleep, but is awoken by screaming and shouting outside.
Oh no. I was like, I really like the bit where Shallan walks on Jasnah just looking exhausted, because throughout all of Way of Kings, Jasnah's super composed, she's super capable, she's like, and it's like,
she's human.
She is human as well, and it's just like, oh no, you get tired. She's exhausted.
Yeah.
She's like, she believes she found the apocalypse is on its way. It's a good moment.
Love Jasnah. I hope nothing bad happens to her.
Oh no.
So
she wakes up to screaming.
So she leaves her cabin, and there's some guys in front of her door. They've got their backs to her, so they don't notice her immediately. And she sort of looks between them, and they're dragging Jasnah out of her cabin.
Yeah.
And one of them stabs her through the heart, and she's very much dead. Shallan screams. They notice her. She runs back in her cabin. She barricades the door, which of course they break down.
Yeah.
So she unknowingly, she sucks in some stormlight, and she manages to blend in with the shadows.
Oh, okay.
And whilst doing that, she creates an illusion of someone running out the room.
Yeah.
So the guys all follow, thinking that she's run out of the room.
Yeah.
And then once she knows it's safe, she comes out, and she goes across the hallway to Jasnah's room, and there's no body.
Yes.
And she's expecting to find a big puddle of blood, but there's not really any blood on the floor.
Yeah.
There's some blood on the bed when she goes in. And she notices that Jasnah's research trunk has been stolen. And she's like, great. So she goes through her stuff. She takes some spheres, because she's obviously going to need those.
Yeah.
And then she's trying to work out what to do. She sends Patton off to go and look, see if the crew's okay.
Yeah.
They're all tied up and slowly getting murdered on the top deck.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't do anything in this situation. What do I do? So she goes to Shadesmar.
Yeah.
And she convinces the boat to sink itself.
Yeah. It just vanishes from underneath them.
Yeah. Then when she wakes up, she's on this little rocky alcove.
Yeah.
One of the creatures that she was studying earlier on in the book that she dived into the water to see.
Oh yeah, the Santhid, yes.
The Santhid is leaving. It's swum her there.
Yeah.
It's left her on the rocks in safety.
Did
and now
the
it's
Santhid
going.
Save her?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Because when she was studying it earlier on,
yeah.
she wasn't there to hurt it, and it knew that she didn't mean it any harm. So it came to rescue her.
Aww.
So she wakes up on this little rocky alcove.
Yeah.
She swims her way over to the beach, and she's talking to Patton, and she's like, it's freezing cold. It's nighttime. I know it's not safe to have a fire, but we're going to need a fire.
Yes.
And she's like, stick. Stick be fire.
So you met Stick.
I am Stick. I am Stick.
I am a Stick.
I am a Stick.
Yeah.
So it doesn't quite work out for her.
No, it doesn't.
She sends Patton off to see if he can find other people.
Yeah.
He finds Jasnah's research trunk.
Okay.
So
excellent.
she's now got what Jasnah was doing.
Yeah.
And then they see a fire in the distance, and she's like, well, we're just going to have to go because we've got no choice. So she sucks in some stormlight to give her some energy. She walks down there, and she just collapses in front of the fire.
Yeah.
And the nice men just let her sleep.
Let her sleep and warm up by the fire.
And then when she wakes up, she finds that the campfire that she's ended up at is one of the slavers. The same slaver that took Kaladin to the Shattered Plains.
Yes.
And being a light eyes, she sort of goes, right, they're going to expect me to be some spoiled, pampered girl
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to give them, and it's going to get me to where I need to be.
Yeah.
So she demands that they take her to the Shattered Plains, and they do it.
Yeah, man, they agree, because, I think she promises them, like...
Lots of money.
She
promises them lots of money, and they're like, you know what? She's a light eyes. She must have lots of money. We'll take her.
Yeah.
So that's where we leave adult Shallan.
Yes.
In part 1.
Yes.
And I say adult Shallan because the flashbacks in this book are Shallan flashbacks.
Yeah.
So then we get little Shallan.
Little Shallan.
Little Shallan is just in her dad's office, and the white carpet is no longer white, it's red. And in front of her are the bodies of her mum and her mum's lover.
I can't. Is the first flashback?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. And Daddy picks her up and starts singing her a lullaby as he takes her back to his room. And she's all upset because Mummy's soul is in the safe.
Yeah.
And it's glowing at her. And Daddy's like, no, listen to my pretty lullaby.
Yeah.
And that's the flashback.
A hell of a flashback to start on.
The lullaby was a terrifying lullaby. I don't know why you would recommend that for a child. It's all about their desolations coming and trying to hide from them.
It's not a comforting song at all. Like, this is not a child's lullaby. This would be like a child's lullaby being like, go to sleep, men might come in and kill you, nuclear weapons exist. And it's like, this is not comforting to a child.
It worked.
Rocks into sleep.
I was left after that flashback thinking that it had to have been a shard blade that killed her mum.
Okay.
Because the whole burnt out eyes on the corpse.
Yeah.
And that left me with 2 theories. No, it didn't. It left me with 1 because the other one hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
So at that point, I assumed that Shallan had killed her mum and her mum's lover.
Okay.
Didn't know how. I assumed that a shard blade was involved somehow.
But if there was a shard blade involved, there wouldn't be blood on the carpet.
I don't know.
Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, Shallan, I was convinced at that point that, like, Shallan had killed her mum.
Yeah.
I don't know about the guy that was in the room. I don't know why there was another guy in the room. I didn't believe that it was mum's lover. I thought maybe there was something more going on there.
Yeah.
And then I spent ages trying to think about what could possibly be her mum's soul in the safe.
Yes.
I thought maybe her mum had a spren.
Okay.
And, like, her dad had somehow captured it and put it in a safe or something.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was what I was working on from part 1. I don't believe that Jasnah's dead at all.
Yeah.
I am quite convinced that she's going to come back.
Yeah.
Because there was no body. There wasn't loads of blood.
Yeah.
She's not dead. Like, she could save herself.
Yeah.
So yeah, at that point I was not convinced that she was dead.
Yeah. I'll say I think that's one that is very much a divider, is like, some people, I thought she was dead. I just didn't pick up on the fact there was no body. I just straight up glossed over that line, and it just didn't click. I thought she was dead. I didn't think she was coming back.
But it's like typical movie, TV show theory, where if there's no body, they're not dead. They're not dead until you've got proof of the body.
Yes. But yeah, I just skipped over that detail, and I was just like, yep, she's dead. And I was like, oh, she's a mentor character. And obviously, in order to let your main character grow, you have to get rid of the mentor. And so I was like, obviously
she's not done enough mentoring yet.
Not yet.
Like, she hasn't shown her how to use the soulcaster. Like, there's so much more that she needs to mentor her on.
That's the tragedy of the mentor dying, is they do it before they can teach the real big secrets.
No.
So yeah, I at that point I was convinced that Jasnah had died.
So then the next character that we come across is Kaladin.
Yes. And we get some nice
More Kaladin. So Kaladin is now Captain Kaladin.
Yeah.
And he's sorting out his divisions. He's given his main crew like lieutenant positions.
Yeah.
And they're going to be in charge of like training all of the other bridgemen up to be like soldiers.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, his guys are in charge of the Kingsguard.
Yes.
So they're there to protect Dalinar, Adolin,
Renarin. Elhokar. Did you say Elhokar?
No, not yet.
Oh, they're not protecting Elhokar
Not
yet?
yet.
Okay.
They're not Kingsguard yet.
They're just Colin-Guard.
Colin-Guard.
Okay.
So they're there to be his bodyguards, and he's agreed that they don't have to go out on plateau assaults. They don't have to fight in any of those battles.
Yeah.
They can do all of the safe, like, patrols around camp and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
That was really nice of him. Kalinar...
No, we're going to keep that in. We're keeping that in. Kalinar. Is that your Kaladin Dalinar ship, is it?
It is. Because everyone knows that's what we want.
That's definitely what we want.
So Kaladin.
Yep.
Kaladin has given himself, like, he has decided Dalinar has been the only Light Eyes so far that's been a good guy.
Yes.
So he is quite determined to keep him alive.
Yeah.
So he is taking the majority of the Dalinar shifts. He's with Dalinar, like, all the time, making sure that he is as safe as possible.
Oh, this really is the Kalinar section, isn't it?
It really is. And it is great. Whilst he's talking to his guys, Moash, is quite vocal about not liking the Light Eyes.
Yeah.
And Kaladin's like, yeah, but Dalinar's cool. And he's like, yeah, but there's others.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't trust Moash.
Yeah.
I think that Moash is going to betray them. Yeah, there's quite a few things. So, like, the next scene with them, they go to the tattoo parlor. And they're all getting their slave brands tattooed over.
Yeah,
with
turned
their
into Bridge
new,
4.
It's Bridge 4, the fact that they're no longer slaves, that's been brought by Dalinar.
Yeah.
And the fact that they saved Dalinar and he freed them, like, that's all written on their foreheads, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's everything in the Slavers brand.
Yes.
And even those that haven't got the Slavers brand have decided to get it on their forehead because they're Bridge 4 and that's what Bridge 4 do.
Exactly.
Apart from Moash.
Yes, he refuses, doesn't he?
Moash gets a little one on his arm in solidarity, which, again, a little bit too suspicious for me.
Yeah.
Like, after he's already spoken about his hatred of Light Eyes, having that, I was a bit like,
From the very
don't like
beginning.
you, Moash. Don't like you.
Yeah, from the very beginning, you were just like, I don't like Moash. You're like, I just don't trust him at all.
No.
And I was like, do you not trust Mr. Moash?
He's not being very trustworthy at the moment.
Yeah.
Kaladin tries to get the tattoo. The first time, it won't even go into his skin.
Yeah.
The second time, he drains himself of Stormlight. So the tattoo goes on, but then the second he takes in Stormlight, it just runs down his face. So poor Kaladin's had to have the pain of getting a tattoo without having a tattoo.
Then doesn't get the tattoo.
So unlike everyone else, he's still stuck with his slave brands across his forehead.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem to mind. And then they go and get their new, like... Uniforms. And it's really sweet.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, these are great, but we're taking off the King's Guard patch because we are not that.
Yeah.
We are Bridge 4. Make us Bridge 4 patches.
Yes.
We are having those.
We are Bridgemen, that is what we are, and we want that,
Yeah, I love that. I love that whole level of, like, loyalty to what they are.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to run from their past. They're quite proud of what they've done.
Yeah.
And they want to keep that up. And that's so cool.
Yeah. It's like that level of... it's like that organization. They've got something that, like, a symbol that they stand by. Yeah, symbol of pride, yeah.
Yeah, it's really sweet. So then they're back at camp and they're listening to the King's proclamation of the fact that plateau assaults are no longer going to be going ahead as they were.
Yeah.
They're expected to now all work together.
Yes.
Get the gemstones as a team of 2. They're all going straight back to the king and the king will distribute them accordingly. Yeah. And Kaladin's like, yeah, Dalinar was right. People are not going to be happy about this.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, guys, we're now on full-time assassin duty.
Yeah.
So then Kaladin goes to join the meeting that's happening between the Dalinar family.
Yeah.
And, like, a couple of their special friends.
Yes. They're special friends.
Special friends. And Kaladin's allowed to stay in the room. And Kaladin contributes to the meeting, even though he's obviously not supposed to.
Dark Eyes supposed to stand in the corner and be invisible. Yeah.
But actually, what he says is quite valid. So Dalinar's like, I'll let it slide, but
next time,
know your place.
Yes.
So whilst they're in this meeting, they're talking about the best way to stop the other princes from rebelling.
Yeah.
And Kaladin makes a good point of saying, well, you've got to take away their toys. What do they like the most? Shard blades and plates.
Yes.
So the best way to get that off of them is for them to lose them in duels. So it's become Adolin's job to challenge the High Princes to duels in order to win their shard blades and plates.
Yes.
Which I'm so excited for.
Yeah.
I am expecting, Adolin to be, the best dueler, takes everyone down. People are, scared to fight him because he's so good at this.
Yeah.
Either that or he's going to be horrific and lose his first one. But I'm so excited for all of the dueling.
Yes.
So then after that, Kaladin takes some of his new recruited bridgemen into the trenches because that's where Bridge 4 trained. That's where the rest should train so they can learn the importance of it. So whilst he's leaving his lieutenants to oversee that, he sneaks off and he starts playing about with Stormlight, sort of seeing what he can do.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's not very much.
Yeah.
So he's experimenting.
Sigzil helps out, yeah.
Sigzil wants to test him to sort of see how much Stormlight he needs, what he can do with the different amounts of Stormlight, how fast can he move, how much can he heal, those kinds of experiments. So they're off doing that. And then when they leave the trenches, Dalinar's new friend has arrived.
Oh, yes.
Amaram.
Ooh, yay. Oh, yeah, so Amaram turning up was hinted at back at Way of Kings. Yeah. So it's that. It's that nice little moment of, it's a little bit of build up, and then it's oh no, Amaram's here.
Well, he's also Sadius's friend.
Yes.
Because that's who was talking about Amaram coming to join him in the last book.
Yeah.
So I don't trust this Amaram guy.
I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't trust Amaram.
He's obviously not a nice man. We saw that in the last book.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's best friends with Sadius.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Something's not right about this guy. I don't like him.
Yeah.
I would like him to just disappear now.
I think
going to.
Yes, everyone would have just liked him to disappear very, very quickly.
So then we get a little bit of Sadius.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you get Sadius viewpoint, don't you?
Yeah. You only get one or two, but they're always quite juicy.
Yeah.
He's with his wife in bed.
Yeah.
And they're talking about, obviously, the changes. And his wife talks about how she's got even more spies into Dalinar's camp during the recruitment, because obviously he lost his whole army, so he had to recruit loads of people. So I was like, great. Book 2. Another Who's the Spy plot line.
Oh, yes. At least it's not a Who's the Contra this time.
Well, no, I haven't worked that one out yet. I'm sure I've met them already, though.
Oh, we have literally no idea who the Contra is. We've got, candidates, but we have no idea who the Contra is. I think we know for a fact there's a Contra or Moshaja in the events of these
There's going to be more than one.
I'm sure there's more than one, yeah.
So Sadius is talking about how he's going to use this new proclamation to cause, cracks between the High Princes.
Yeah.
And how he's going to try and undermine Dalinar, take the kingdom out from beneath him.
Yeah.
And become the new king. And it's cool. Oh, Sadius.
It's Sadius. Oh, boy.
Yeah. So the last character that we got a viewpoint of in part 1 was Dalinar.
Yes.
So Dalinar starts with him having a flashback to where he thinks he's on the Pure Lake.
Oh, yes. Sorry. He has a vision.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's this strange onyx tower in the middle of the Pure Lake.
Yeah.
And they're looking for a strange spring that's got It's black with red eyes. And then they're following it, and then this gigantic one appears.
Yes.
And it bonds to the rock.
Yep.
And creates, like, a monster.
Yep.
And Navani's recording all of this for him.
Hmm.
So she takes the transcript to go and have the scribe sort of look over it and translate it, because it's all in, like, old languages.
Yes.
So she leaves. Dalinar goes to sleep. And when he wakes up, someone has taken some, like, chalky stone from outside.
Yes.
And written, like, 62 days on his wall.
Yes, you get a nice little countdown.
Yeah. So there was quite a lot to unpack from this. The writing on the wall.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's, like, one of the black and red spreens that's, like, coming in to, like, sort of taunt him, like, ha ha ha, 62 days and we're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Or whether it's, like, an honor spreen or something, like, trying to warn him.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on with those numbers
yet. Those are some good theories.
I hate it when you say that. And the next thing was, I don't think that flashback was of the Pure Lakes.
Oh, okay.
Because he's talking about this big onyx tower.
Yeah.
And in the, what are they called? Interludes.
Yes.
We meet a Shonai.
Yeah.
Who is in the middle of the Shattered Plains in an old town that's been sort of, like, overrun by creme.
Yes.
So obviously all the buildings are now, like,
covered in creme.
Yeah. And the main building is this gigantic tower.
Yes.
So I thought maybe it wasn't the Pure Lakes that he was in.
Yeah.
It's what the Shattered Plains used to look like.
Oh, okay.
And, like, that tower is where...
Yeah.
Like,
they used to
the
live,
old
like...
Onyx Tower...
Yeah.
...is where Shonai is now living.
Oh, okay. So it's, like, almost like not like a second Pure Lake, but like a little sea. And that's what the Shattered Plains used to be, a sea. Okay.
Yeah.
And that tower was...
Yeah,
something in the middle. Okay.
That's one of my theories about the Shattered Plains, but I'll get into my Shattered Plains theories a little bit later on, because I've got two current theories about how the Shattered Plains happened. Okay,
interesting.
Yeah, I can't decide which one I like more. So that's what I think about that flashback. It was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And then we get the interludes.
Yes, so that's the end of part one.
End of part one.
And so how were you feeling about part one?
Obviously, it's a lot of setup.
Yeah.
I was very upset about Jasnah dying.
Yes.
Because I wanted her and Shallan to be a thing. And now I'm really upset that that's not going to happen.
Yeah. But you didn't think she was dead, though?
No.
No.
No. And obviously, we've not really had very much, because it's just sort of...
It's just the setup.
Just the setup. So then we get to the interludes.
Yes.
So the first interlude is a Shonai who wants the fighting to end between her people and the humans.
Yeah.
She's walking through an art gallery where the Parshendi are trying to recreate new forms.
Yes.
So one of the forms they're trying to bring out is the artist form. So they're trying to capture, like, creation spren.
Yes.
But obviously they're not very good. So they're not getting any creation spren coming through.
Yeah.
So she's like, great, gonna have to keep working on that one.
Yeah.
And she's thinking to herself, like, she's trying to think of a way to reason with the humans, because obviously so many Parshendi are now dead. Like, they're so few in numbers now.
They killed a huge percentage of the Parshendi.
So, like,
war.
Something has to change. And then she goes to meet with her sister, and her sister has caught a storm spren.
Yes.
And, sorry, a lightning spren.
Lightning spren, storm spren, yeah.
And she's like, I'm going to use this to make a new form. I'm going to bring us back to our glory days.
Yeah.
And Ashona is like, okay.
Can you not,
Yeah. And they're, like, talking about their old gods. I have a feeling they're talking about, like, the shards.
Okay.
I think they're the old gods, because obviously the humans' gods are the heralds.
Yes.
So the older versions
Okay.
are the shards.
Okay.
So obviously there was the one shard that then got splintered into the 16.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling it's the 16 that the Parshendi
You think they worshipped the
about?
16 shards?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Because they don't talk about old gods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only sort of thing that I can think about at the moment. So that's where we left at Shonai.
Yeah.
In the first interlude. And then we moved to Yim.
Yes, we get Yim.
Yim. He is this lovely old man that makes shoes, and when orphans turn up, he makes them shoes. He fixes up their broken, like, dirty feet. He's got a little spren that's, like, hovering around him. He's not bonded to it yet.
But he knows it's there, kind of.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
And he's using Stormlight to heal the orphans, like, little cuts and wounds and stuff. But he doesn't realise, he thinks he's just using salve.
Yeah.
And the Spren's like, he's here. And Yim's like, yeah, no, the orphan's just left. And he's like,
no, someone else is here.
And then there's a man there. And he's talking about how when Yim was younger, he killed a girl. And so then he pulls out a shard blade and kills Yim for it.
Yeah.
And that was the end of Yim.
Yes, that was the end of Yim. That experience ended.
I liked him.
Yeah.
He was a sweet man.
I really liked Yim. He's just a nice old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get Risen again.
Yes, there we get Risen. Poor Risen.
So Risen's master is dying, so he sends her to make his trade deal instead, and it's on this like giant island. I can't remember what it's called.
It's one of the Reshi Isles.
One of the Reshi Isles.
That's not really an isle.
No, it's the back of like a giant creature, isn't it?
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah.
So she gets there, and she's climbing to the top to go and meet the king.
Yeah.
And there's naked people jumping off around her, and she's like, wow, this is a different experience.
Yes.
I know that they don't wear safe hand gloves out here, but like...
They don't wear anything out here.
This is a whole different thing.
Being a Reshi Islander sounds great. You live on a tropical, moving island where you just hang out in the sun all day, and you sometimes got to go fight other Reshi Isles, and it goes into that. But it's fine. It's all good. Just having a great time.
So she's climbing. Yeah. There's a captured guy that starts talking to her.
Yes.
Hanging from the trees.
Yes. And do you know who that is, Lucy?
Axes.
It's good old Axes the Collector, just hanging out.
Well, he had clearly gone there to observe some more.
Find some spray,
And he got captured.
Yeah.
But he doesn't mind. He quite likes it. He gets captured all the time. Yeah. That's normal for him. So she keeps climbing to the top, and the king won't talk to her. She's talking to the king's assistant. And he's not willing to do a trade deal with her at all. And he's just like, no, this isn't happening. Off you go.
Yeah.
And then she decides in order to get a trade deal, she's got to be bold.
Yes.
So she ties herself to a rope. And he's like, well, if you're not going to deal with me, I'm going to go and talk to your god.
Yeah, I'm going to go above your head.
Lets herself down this rope. And she's eye level with the island creature.
Yeah.
And then the rope snaps.
Yeah.
And she plunges.
Very far.
Very far. She wakes up in a little bed. And they're like, girl, we were messing with you.
Yeah.
The trade would have happened. You didn't have to do that.
We just wanted to see what you do.
Yeah. But for your bravery, rather than trading a dead Larkin, we're going to give you a live one.
Yes.
So here is your Larkin.
Yeah.
And that's where we leave her.
Yes.
So I need to know what a Larkin is.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like a little tiny, hand-sized dragon crab creature. It sounds adorable as anything.
Yeah.
So I now need a Larkin.
They are, it's like a little Kremling. It's a little bigger than a Kremling. Yeah. And it's and it's got little wings, and it's what's it?
So I need to know what a Larkin is.
Yep.
I need to know what it does. I need to know
Yeah.
everything I can about this thing because it sounds adorable.
Don't you...
You do later.
Okay, you find out stuff about him later.
So these are my part 1 notes, and in part 1 I didn't know anything.
You didn't know anything. Cool. Excellent.
So that was part 1.
Yeah.
So then we get to part 2.
Yes.
So part 2 starts with Shallan travelling across the place.
Unclaimed hills.
The Unclaimed Hills to the Shattered Plains. She's demanded one of the empty
slave
wagons for herself, and they've given it to her. So she's in there checking out Jasnah's belongings, working out what her research was. And as she's going through the trunk, she finds the sketch that she did of Jasnah soul casting the stone.
Yeah, and Jasnah kept it.
Cute.
Yeah.
Oh, they could have been so good together. I'm sad that that's not going to happen.
I know.
So she's talking to Patton, because Patton's able to talk now.
Yeah.
She's named him Patton, and he tells her that he's a cryptic spreen.
Yes, he's a cryptic.
Means nothing.
Yeah,
yeah,
we're not really 100% sure on what cryptics are. I think we sometimes call them lie spren, but then also sometimes it seems like they're truth spren. And
he has bonded to her.
Yeah.
Because of the lie that she told as a child.
Mm.
And until she speaks the truth about it, she can't really progress any further in her abilities. Because she's got to tell him lies that she has in order to...
Well, tell the truth of lies that she has. Yeah.
In order to...
progress. Their oaths are different. Unlike Kaladin, who says words, you know.
She's got to say words.
She's got to say truths.
And yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because it's because she told a lie that was supposed to have broken her.
Yeah.
But instead, like, her soul only cracked a little bit.
Okay.
And so that confirmed to me that she had to have been the one to kill her mum.
Okay.
Because that's the lie that she's keeping inside.
Yeah.
And they're travelling along, and then we get the Wayne cameo.
Oh, yes! Yeah! I forgot about this one.
I hate this one. I can't remember his name. I don't want to know his name.
Yeah.
But one of these slavers is a guy that likes to make funny jokes.
Yeah.
And he wears hats, and he's got an obsession with hats.
Yeah. And he likes to change hats, and he says something about changing hats and like you change who you are as a person or something like that. And it's like, oh, yes.
I was like, I thought I got away from this guy. I clearly did not.
This isn't actually a Wayne cameo, just in case people are confused. But
it is Wayne.
You said, why is Wayne in this book? And you showed me the snippet, and I was like, okay, this could be Wayne. This could be Wayne.
Like, there is...
It's not, but I could see why you'd think so.
Like, everything about this character has been modelled off of him.
Yeah.
And I don't like this character.
Luckily, you don't have to see very much.
No, I was very happy when this character died. I know I was supposed to be sad because Shallan's really sad about it. It just made me happy. I was very glad to see him gone. I hope he doesn't come back.
Don't worry. I mean, Wayne does, but you know.
No, don't. So as they're travelling, they realise that there's some there's bandits.
Yes.
Like, nearby. So they're travelling quite quickly to get away from them. And as they're travelling into the... there's this tunnel.
Okay.
It's not a tunnel, but it's like a chasm that you've got to go through to get to the Shattered Plains.
Okay.
It's like the most direct way.
Yeah.
And there's quite a lot of smoke coming out of it.
Yeah.
And they're like, great, so there's bandits behind, there's bandits in front. There's no way to avoid this, we've just got to hope for the best. So as they're travelling in, they get stopped by, the watch person.
Okay.
And that's where we meet Tyne.
Oh, yes! Tin, Tyne, yeah.
So Shallan convinces her to let them come and join their caravan.
Yeah.
And for letting them in, Shallan will find a way to protect them in case the bandits come back. So she agrees. They go down and Shallan runs back behind them. The bandits that they were running from were actually soldiers that had defected.
Yeah, deserted.
And she convinces them to fight for her and be her personal soldiers. And
Yeah.
if they redeem themselves by doing that, she'll get them pardoned when they get back to the camp.
Yes.
She'll get them lots of money. She'll let them live the glory days again. They can be good again. They can do that thing that they've always wanted to do. So she, like, inspires them to go and kill the bandits for them.
Yeah.
And that works.
Yeah, and it works out.
They kill the bandits.
Yeah. This is, like, Vartha, Red. It's where you meet Gaz again.
Gaz.
Yeah.
So that's what they do. Luckily, Bloof dies.
Cool.
So they join with the big caravan along with Shallan. The original slaver that she was with was like, well, I don't have a reason to go with you anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave. And she's like, cool, before you do, here's some money. I'm buying those slaves off of you. They can now be my personal, like, attendants. And she is quite happy now. She's got this big group to go into the Shattered Plains with. Tyne has taken quite an interest to her and is, like, showing her, like, how to be a bit of a trickster.
Yes. Like, ways to manipulate people. And, yeah.
And she's obviously got her own guards and her own servants now, so all is good.
Shallan gathers quite a little retinue on the way to the Shadow Plains.
Yeah. They come across a army patrol.
Oh, yes! On their way, because as they're approaching the Shadow Plains.
Yeah, they're on horses, so her and the other girl, Tyne, approach the patrol. Tyne's like, hey, why don't you pretend to be a horn-eater? Like, she got the hair for it. Yeah. She's like, I don't want to, let's just be ourselves. But then Tyne starts the conversation by being like, this is the princess of the horn-eater place. Yeah. So then she has to try and pretend to be a horn-eater. And the guard in charge of the patrol is Kaladin. Yeah. So we get some Kaladin. Yeah. And Kaladin's like, what's going on here? Like, I don't believe you. Yeah, like,
Kaladin knows a horn-eater, you know.
Yeah. And so she pretends to get, like, really offended by him.
Yes.
And, like, he has angered the princess. And she's like, take off your boots.
Yes.
And he's like, what? And she's like, I demand your boots as a, like, sorry. Yeah. Take your boots off. So Kaladin's like, this crazy girl.
Crazy ladies stealing my boots. Yeah.
So her and Tyne, like, the patrol leaves them. Yeah. Her and Tyne go back and she's like, I can't believe you took his boots. And she's like, neither can I, but I needed boots. Yeah. So now she's wearing Kaladin's boots around.
Mm-hmm. I will say, that scene, I find that scene really, like, cringy. Like, I know it's supposed to be funny, right? But I think that's one of the times where Brennan's humor didn't work for me. Yeah. Because for me, it's like, because for me, it's a light-eyed woman using her position of power in society to legitimately rob Kaladin. Like, she just legitimately robs him. There's no big and bones about it. That's what she does. And I'm always like, oh, Shallan. I'm like, yeah, I'm not a fan of the boots scene. But it's like one of the few times Brandon's humour did not work for me.
Yeah. No, I can completely get that, because, again, it is sort of cementing the whole, like, light eyes thinking that they can do whatever they want.
Exactly, yeah.
And obviously Kaladin now knows that that's what she's like. She's just a spoiled, entitled, light eyes girl that thinks that she can do whatever she wants. So that's probably not helped their relationship.
No, it's not a good way to start off that.
Tyne invites Shallan to come and listen to her spam read with her that evening. And they're having a conversation about Jasnah? The place where Shallan's from.
Oh, Yakaved.
Is that how you say that?
Yeah. What did you write? Yeah, Yakaved. Roshar has soft J's. Every J is a Y. It's Jasnah, Yakaved, Yezereza, you know.
Okay. So she's listening into what's happening in her homeland, like, obviously trying to work out what's going on, because her brothers are all still there. And then the spam read starts talking about the soldiers that they picked up and how they're deserters, and there's quite a high price on their heads. Yes. So Tyne's like, great, we can make some money when we get to the Shattered Plains. Yep. And Shallan's like, no, I promised those guys that I would help them.
Yeah.
And she's like, money.
Yeah. Time's like, yes, morals, but also money.
Also, we don't particularly care for morals.
Yeah.
And then the spam read starts talking about the assassination of Jasnah, and Time reveals that she's the one that sent the assassins to the boat to kill Jasnah.
Yes.
And then it starts talking about Jasnah's apprentice who seems to have survived. And then it gives Tyne a description of the apprentice. And the description matches Shallan.
Tyne's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they get into a fight, and Shallan summons her shard blade.
Yes.
I knew she had a shard blade.
Yes, you picked up on those.
And she kills Tyne with it.
Yeah.
And then the others come in and they're like,
what did you do?
Well, no. Her personal guards, the ones that she employed, were trying to get to her because they felt something might be wrong.
Yeah.
And Tyne's guards wouldn't let them come near. So they killed Tyne's guards.
Oh, right.
And so Shallan's just stood in the middle of the tent holding a shard blade. Tyne's dead, and she's like, right, well.
Well, shall we be off?
Yeah. And she's like, right, someone burn those bodies. I'm in charge.
Yeah.
But please don't tell people I've got a shard blade, because this will not end well if you do.
No.
So they luckily all agree that they're not going to mention anything. So that is where we left Shallan. I didn't think that it was a shard blade.
Yes.
Because she summoned it too quickly.
Yeah, she doesn't have to wait the 10 seconds, does she? Or the 10 heartbeats.
It comes immediately, whereas everyone else has to wait. So I thought maybe...
You had a really cool theory. I really liked this theory.
Yeah. So the only other sort of strange entity is Pattern.
Yes.
Who seems to be able to change shape.
Yes, he changes his pattern.
Yeah. So I thought that maybe it's not a real shard blade, Pattern transforms into it. He changes his pattern to
be a
shard blade.
I think, and obviously you know the answer now because you finished the book. But at the time, I thought that was a really cool theory, that Pattern turns his spiky patternness into a shard blade. I was like, yeah, that's a cool theory.
Yeah, so that was good. And then we got another flashback.
Okay.
For Shallan, because obviously this is her flashback book.
Yeah.
So she's sitting in the dining hall, and she's not spoken for months.
Yeah.
She's not said a word since her mum died. And all of the serving women are talking about her dad killed her mum, and how poor Shallan must have suffered from having to watch that.
I think there's a really cool detail in that where they talk about how, because of the fact that she doesn't talk, people think it's okay to say whatever they want around her. It's she's not deaf, she just can't talk, but people treat her I always thought it was an interesting little detail.
And then her oldest brother walks in, and he's like, "Hey, Shallan."
This is Helleran, right?
Yeah. He's like, "We really miss you being you.
Yeah.
I brought you a new sketch pad. Maybe you can start drawing again. I love your drawings." So she takes a sketch pad from him.
Yeah.
And she starts drawing her mum's dead body on the floor. He's like, "Oh no, Shallan, not that one.
Let's try something else, shall we?"
"No, Shallan, don't draw dead mum."
Yeah.
And then Dad comes in, and him and Dad get into a big argument because he blames his dad for killing his mum. His dad's like, "None of you know the truth.
Yeah.
You can't judge me. You weren't there." And he's like, "No, I can. You killed my mum, mate."
He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna judge you for that."
Yeah. So they get into this big argument. His dad's very much, "You can't do anything to me." So he summons a shard blade.
Yes.
And then Dad obviously steps down.
Yeah.
He's got a shard blade to his throat.
Yeah.
And Helleran is very much about to kill his dad.
Yeah.
And Shallan's like, "No."
Yes! Because then Halloran gets really angry because she's like, you haven't spoken in months and the first thing you say is to defend him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's like, no, you can't kill him. You don't know the truth. And Dad's like, shut up, Shallan.
Yeah.
But he agrees not to kill their dad. And then he storms out.
Yeah.
And he's gone now. Like, he doesn't want to be part of the family anymore.
Yeah.
His dad very much has disowned him. Well, not really disowned him at this point, but he's like, he doesn't want him anymore. So then, in the next flashback, she's outside doing some drawings, and then she goes into the house because she hears some noise. And as she's walking, she starts thinking about her mum's death. Yeah. So she's just stood still staring at a wall. And,
yes.
And Jushu,
yeah,
finds her and he's like, great, you're staring at the wall, the lot's killing things, I'm the only normal one.
Yes.
They all think they're the only normal one.
They all think they're the normal one.
So it turns out that the angry shouting that she heard earlier is because Balot's been setting fire to things. Mm-hmm. Good for him.
Yeah. He's graduated from killing small animals to burning things, you know?
No, he's not killed the small animals yet. He's just a bit rough with his axe hounds.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he starts walking Shallan back to her room, and they pass Dad's room, and she's looking at the door, and she's convinced that she can see through into the room, and she's staring at the point where the safe should be.
Yes.
And she's like, Mum's soul's in there. Mum's soul.
Yeah, and it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was all of Shallan for part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Shallan for part 2 is you start getting the cracks start appearing in her.
Yeah.
In her. Obviously, her life isn't great.
Yeah.
But she's not quite the privileged little light eyes girl whose family's in a bit of danger. There's a lot more going on there, and she's not doing great.
No. We only really get like one Adolin chapter. So it's Adolin's duel for his first High Prince duel for Shard Blades.
Yeah.
So he gets in the ring, and during the fight he gets angry. So he just starts hitting the guy's shard plates.
Yeah.
And they smash because obviously he's got shard armor on.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, hang on a sec, he can't have won for that. That's not dueling techniques.
Yeah.
And the judge is like, no, there's nothing in the rules about that.
Yeah, he starts breaking the like they normally fight with the stances, but he starts breaking stances and he just starts wailing on the dude. The dude's like, this ain't allowed, and they're like, you broke your shard plate, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he ends up winning it. And everyone is like, no, he shouldn't have won that. Like, he didn't fight fair.
Yeah.
And then when he gets back into, like, the staging area, Dalinar is like, perfect. Now they think that you can't fight and you're just a bit, like, silly.
A bit rubbish, yeah.
So now they're going to be more willing to fight you because now they think that they will win against you. That was a genius move, Adolin. And Adolin's like, yeah, meant to do that. Didn't just get mad. So then in the next Adolin chapter, it's Adolin out on a shard run. They get to the plateau and they're fighting.
Yeah. And
the Parshendi end up winning that one, so they get the gem heart. And as he's chasing them down, Ishonai turns up.
Yes.
And she's like, hey, where's your dad?
Yes.
Madelin's like, you talk?
Yeah.
And she's like, your dad, where is he? He's like, he's not coming out today.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I want to talk to him. Can you tell him I'm going to send a Parshendi out as a messenger, and I want to know when and where to meet, because we need to chat.
Yeah.
Adolin's like, okay.
I'll give it a go.
Cool. So in that battle, Adolin had taken Renarin.
Yeah.
Cool. He took Renarin with him so that Renarin could
get a taste of the battle, basically.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't supposed to be involved in the battle. It was just so that he could see what happens in a battle, because he's not really had much experience out on the field.
Yeah.
So he's sitting with his bridge crew people, and the Parshendi start coming across the bridge to attack.
Yeah.
So he stands up, he summons his shard blade, and he freezes. And obviously all of the bridgemen who have just fought off the Parshendi have seen this.
Yeah.
So he's sulking, and Adolin's like, oh, he had a fit.
Yeah.
I'll go and comfort him. And Renarin's like, no, it wasn't that. I don't want to do this.
Okay.
Renarin is an interesting one.
Yes.
Because he's got epilepsy.
I think it's supposed to be epilepsy.
But he didn't seem to have any sort of epileptic, like, fits or any sort of epileptic, like, things in the Way of Kings. And in the Words of Radiance so far, the only thing that he's had is that he froze up during a battle.
Yeah, which isn't really,
So I'm not convinced that he's got epilepsy. I think it's something else.
Yeah.
And then I threw around the idea of him maybe being one of the Radiants.
Okay.
And because it's a little bit later on when he's talking to Kaladin. Kaladin asks him about, what's your condition? So Renarin's telling him. And it doesn't sound really like epilepsy.
Yeah.
It just seems to be what they called it.
Yeah. Well, they call it a blood weakness, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was the one that said to you, I think it's supposed to be epilepsy.
Well, no, because I'm pretty sure he mentions that it is.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't really sound like it, but it kind of sounds spreeny.
Okay.
So I've decided he has a spreen.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a Radiant. But obviously he's not going to know that yet.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking about him. Like the whole freezing up on the battlefield. I figured maybe there was something more to it.
Yeah.
And obviously this will have been the first time that he summons his shard blade.
Yes, because he'd only just won it from the duel that Adolin just had, yeah.
So if he is anything like Kaladin, whenever Kaladin touches a shard blade, he is screaming.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe that's why he froze up, because he could hear the screaming.
Yes. Speaking of Kaladin and shard blades.
Yes. So Kaladin starts part 2 by accompanying Adolin and Renarin to the Light Eyes practice grounds.
Yeah.
Because Renarin is about to start shard training because he's now got a shard. And he's never had any fighting training before because of his illness. He's never been able to go out on the field. So obviously Bridge 4 being bodyguards have gone along to protect. And Kaladin is talking to Zahil.
Yes.
And Zahil challenges him, he tells Zahil about his hatred of shard blades.
Yeah.
And Zahil's like, well, you're going to need to fight shard bearers.
Yeah.
And Kaladin's like, I can do that.
I've fought them before.
So he challenges him to a fight.
Yeah.
And he's fighting Zahil. And he's doing quite well.
Yeah.
Considering he's had no,
formal training.
Yeah. He's doing really well to fight him. He manages to get into a position where Zahil would kill him.
Yeah.
And Zahil's like, well, you're dead, so you've not done your job. And he was like, well, whoever I was protecting, I've now brought them time where they could have run away, and you've been so distracted that would have been fine.
Yeah.
And Zahil's like, yeah, but then you're dead. And Kaladin's like, but I've done my job.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And then Zahil's like, well, what if there's 2 shard bearers? And Kaladin's like, I'm sure I could do it. So then Adolin joins the fight.
Yes.
So Kaladin is fighting Adolin and Zahil. And Adolin, he's doing well. Adolin gets annoyed. Adolin throws him 8 feet into the air. So Kaladin crashes down. Luckily, he's got his Stormlight, so he sucks in Stormlight to heal himself.
Yeah.
Zahil is shouting at Adolin for doing that, because obviously that's not cool. That's a really big move.
Yeah.
Kaladin gets back up, and Kaladin is mad.
Yeah.
Kaladin very angrily charges at Adolin, but just before he gets to Adolin, he stops. And I was wondering if maybe that's because
Yeah.
when he's normally, like, doing those, like, fighting.
Yeah.
It's to protect.
Yeah.
And to train. So that's why it's always worked for him. But this is the first time he's actively tried to hurt someone.
Because he's angry. Yes.
So I thought maybe that's why Syl sort of like took the Stormlight from him.
Yeah.
Because he was about to do something dishonourable.
Yeah.
Later on, he's guarding Dalinar. And as he's walking back to Dalinar's camp with him, Kaladin tells Dalinar about Amran's betrayal.
Yeah.
And how Amran really got his shard plates and armor. Dalinar is like, okay, don't say anything to anyone. Let me investigate. Let me look into this. And Kaladin's like, he's not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm. He's going to investigate, and he's not going to go turn into anything.
Yeah. So he gets back to the campfire, and Lopen's cousin has joined them.
Oh yes, is Huon? I want to say
hasn't got a name for this one.
Hasn't got a name for this one. Okay.
So automatically, they're at the campfire. There's a new guy who's a cousin. And I have a feeling that Lopen's from a culture where just everyone is referred to as your cousin.
Yes.
Because he seems to have a lot of cousins.
He's a lot of cousins.
And like I know there's like cultures where you call people like auntie, even though they're not related to you at all. So I assume that Lopen has just decided that this guy's his cousin.
Yep. He's like a fellow Hadazian. You're my cousin. Go on.
Well, there was a lot of, like, writing about how he didn't look like a Hadazian.
Oh, okay.
Like, the description specifically, like, talks about how he doesn't look Hadazian. Lopen's just sort of, like, calling him cousin.
Oh, just, like, adopted him.
Yeah. So I thought that maybe potentially that was Sev trying to, like...
sneak in.
Yeah, because obviously he's been sent to the Shattered Plains to kill Dalinar, and this is about the sort of time that he'd be arriving.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe he was, like, scouting out the King's Guard, sort of, like, trying to work out how best to infiltrate the palace.
Yeah.
And obviously if you're one of the King's Guards, well, High Prince's guards, how easy is it to get the High Prince alone?
Yes.
So I thought maybe that was what that was leading to. And then Kaladin talks to Shen.
Yes.
Who is upset because he's the only member of Bridge 4 that's not been given a spear.
Yes.
He's like, am I your slave?
Yeah.
And Kaladin's like,
Shen is the parchman, if you don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, that was a really sad moment. It's like, oh.
It's like, he's like, I'm free. Do I not get to have a spear? Yeah. It's like...
He's like, I got the tattoo as well. Oh, I love him. Kaladin's about to sit down and eat some, like, stew or curry or whatever it was that night.
Yeah.
When someone comes to get him because there has been an assassination attempt on the king.
Yes.
So Kaladin arrives at the king's chamber, and the king's fine. He's got like a minor cut on his head.
Yeah.
The king had gone out onto his balcony, and he was leaning on his favourite leaning post, and the balcony wall just gave out from under him.
Elhokar has his favourite leaning spot, you know.
The king, he hasn't got a name.
Oh yes, sorry, because we know his mother's name, so he can't be called a name. Yes.
So Kaladin goes to inspect the area with Dalinar, and they're both like, these are shard blade cuts. Like, as much as we want to just say this was a coincidence.
Yeah.
No, someone cut this. And Kaladin's like, cool. Who's been out on this balcony?
Yeah.
And they're like, Elhokar was out on the balcony. And he was like, yeah, before that. They're like, well, Moshe was out there for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was automatically like, well...
You already didn't trust Moash, so you're like, it was clearly Moash.
Yeah. I didn't know whether maybe, like, he had his own, like, secret shard blade hidden.
Yeah.
Or, like, whether he was working with someone that has a shard blade. But either way, he was definitely behind that.
Yeah.
But Kaladin's like, yes, we should investigate this.
Yeah.
I'll put some men on the king. It's okay. It's all good. So now Kaladin is protecting...
Dalinar.
Adolin.
Renarin. Elhokar. Anyone else? Navani. Anyone else?
King's Horse.
King's Horse, you know, yeah.
they don't have a lot of men in Bridgeport.
No.
So he is stretched very, very thin.
Yeah.
And Kaladin, being Kaladin, has taken up the majority of
He's just working continuously. Yeah.
Like he's not stopping.
Yeah.
The next day, Dalinar's decided that it took Kaladin too long to try and get back to the castle after the assassination attempt.
Yeah.
Best thing to do is learn how to ride a horse.
Yes.
So he makes Kaladin learn how to ride a horse.
Yeah.
Kaladin is not having a good time. He
Nope.
does not like having to ride this horse.
Nope.
He's not enjoying himself. Adolin turns up and starts winding him up. So Kaladin goes to the new horse that they've just brought in that's still completely wild.
Yeah.
And he insists that he's going to ride that horse.
Yeah.
Because Adolin has, literally just called him a chicken.
Yeah. And he's like, fine. He does the very Kaladin thing to do. He's like, I'm just going to get the biggest, most wild horse. I'm going to jump on that one
I'm
then.
going to challenge it.
Yeah.
So he jumps on this out-of-control horse and he uses Stormlight to stay on.
Yeah.
As long as he can.
Yeah.
And it's going really well for him. The horse then stops. And Kaladin's like, yes, I've won. So he stops lashing himself to the horse.
Yeah.
So the horse then takes the opportunity to buck him off.
Yeah.
And Dalinar happened to be in the area. And Dalinar's rushing over to see if he's okay. And Adolin's stood there don't tell my dad this was because of me. Because I'm not allowed to be like that.
Yeah.
Kaladin obviously covers for him because actually they are bros. They just haven't realised it yet.
Oh, yeah.
So Dalinar has now decided that one of the new duties is that they need to come and practice on the horses every single day.
Yeah.
So now he's got guard duty, he's got patrols, he's got to learn how to ride horses, he's got
Shardbearer training.
Shardbearer training, a lot.
He's got a lot on his plate.
He's got a lot. He's not got a lot of men.
Nope.
And I immediately said he is going to fall asleep on the job and something bad's going to happen. He does fall asleep on the job.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's during a high storm and he is in a room with Adolin and Renarin.
Yeah.
And Dalinar is next door with Navani, obviously recording what's happening.
Yeah.
So he falls asleep. And they're like, wow, you're the only person that can fall asleep during this.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Poor Kaladin. And that's when there's another countdown gets drawn as well, doesn't it?
Well, I was going to say he fell asleep because it was one of the high storm things. So he obviously had his high storm vision as well as Dalinar.
Well, Kaladin had a vision as well.
Yeah, he has them sometimes.
Oh, okay.
So in his one, a weird red storm is there.
Okay.
And Stormfather says that they're here, and then Kaladin wakes up. He freaks out.
Yeah.
He goes to look out the window during a high storm, and Adolin's like, dude,
there's a high storm
There's a high storm. And Kaladin can see the red lights flashing about outside.
Yeah.
He's like, we're not safe. We need to leave. Someone go and get Elakar out the toilet.
Yeah.
We're going. So he goes into the room. He gets Dalinar and Navani out. They're all following him down the servants' corridors because after this he's convinced that something is wrong.
Yeah.
They get into one of the servants' tunnels and he sent a couple of men ahead. And they find the body of one of the men.
Yes.
Next to a big hole cut out of the middle of the wall.
Yes.
That's hundreds of feet up in the air. And the corridor is dark.
Yes, and it's like, oh, I wonder what happened here.
Yeah. So Kaladin sends Moash, and a few of his other men back with the king to find somewhere safe for them.
Yeah.
Him, Dalinar, and Adolin stay behind to fight Seth, who is stood in the middle of the corridor.
Yeah.
And then there's this huge, really cool fight.
Yeah.
Where they're using their shard blades. Zev is lashing people to the walls. And it's really cool.
It's very cool.
It's really cool.
And this is the fight where Hobber gets his legs cut?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always thought it was an interesting decision for Brandon to make the guy called hobbled.
Yeah.
It's an interesting decision there, Brandon. I'll let it. It's okay. It's okay though.
It's okay. So they're fighting quite furiously.
Yeah.
Sev lashes Adolin to the roof because obviously he doesn't want to kill Adolin.
Yeah, he's there to kill
But
Dalinar.
he needs Adolin out of the way because he's a shard bearer that's quite good.
Yeah.
Kaladin he's managed to knock to the side. Kaladin is quite wounded at this point. Doesn't think anything more of him because obviously he's just a guard.
Yeah.
So then he turns to Dalinar. And Dalinar's like, it's too late, you're not going to be able to chase Elhokar now. He's like, I'm not here for him.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not here to kill him.
You're my target.
I'm here to kill you. Yes.
He brings the shard blade down and Dalinar catches it in his hands.
Yes, he does the clap.
Yes. Such a cool moment.
It's a very, very cool moment.
And whilst they're struggling, Kaladin sucks in a bit of stormlight. He gets to his feet and he charges at Zeph.
Yeah.
And he throws Zeph out of the hole in the wall along with himself, and they're both tumbling to the ground.
Yeah.
Kaladin manages to use some of Zeph's stormlight to stop himself from getting hurt in the fall.
Yeah.
So him and Zeph are there at the bottom, and Zeph's like, I didn't lash you.
How are you alive?
Still alive?
Yeah.
And Kaladin's like, how do you think? Yeah.
Yes, and then that's the bit then when Zeth goes like, have they returned? And then is one of my favourite Kaladin moments, because then Kaladin goes, yes? Because Kaladin, like, the line is literally, Kaladin wasn't sure what Zeth meant by this. He just felt it was right to say yes. And it's weird because he's like, it always makes me laugh because he's like, have they returned? And Kaladin's like, yes?
So then Zeth's like, I wasn't wrong. I need to go and sort stuff out.
He's like, I need to go think about something.
So Zeph leaves, and Kaladin's like, cool. I'm just gonna go back into the building then. Yeah. So then Kaladin goes back in there like, damn, how are you still alive? And he's like, just am. So yeah, he uses he manages to get enough stormlight to heal his arm. Yeah. Because he can heal stormlight wounds.
Yes. Stormblade wounds. Shardblade wounds. Yeah.
Shardblade, same thing. So that was really cool. That was that one. Yeah. And then we've got the interludes. Yes. So we had Ishonai, who she goes out in the storm with the new lightning spren. So she survives the storm and the Stormfather appears and he's like, really? You want that form?
He's like, are you sure?
And she's like, yeah. And he's like, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you anymore.
Yeah, he's like, if you choose this, I can't, you know.
And then she transforms into the storm form.
Yes.
And then that's where we left her.
Yeah.
And she then has a second interlude at the end.
Yeah.
Where she goes back to her village in a new storm form. And they're like, it worked. And she's like, yes, I now know what we need to do. I now know how we're going to end this fight. Yeah. And it ends with it being like, and inside she was screaming. Yeah. So whatever it is controlling her. And it's not her anymore. And, oh boy, this is looking scary. And then we had...
the Zahel interlude.
So he gets woken up by Kaladin.
Yeah.
And Kaladin's like, right, take it back. I want to learn how to fight a shard bearer. Yeah. Yeah. Because obviously after that fight, he's like, I'm not prepared enough. I need proper training. Yeah. So Zahir's like, come back when I'm awake. Yes. Do not wake me up again. Starts talking more about colours. Yeah. This guy has an obsession with talking about colours.
Does he now? I don't know what you mean.
He does. So I had a theory that... What was my first theory with him? No. My first theory was that Sev doesn't have a normal shard blade. Yeah. He's got something different. I thought maybe it was Nightblood. Yes. And I thought... I'm pretty sure I might have said before that I thought he might have been a world hopper.
Yeah, so you thought Zeth was... you thought Zeth was Hoid for a little while, didn't you?
No. To begin with, I then thought that Zeth was Vasha. Okay. So then I was quite convinced that his blade is not actually a shard blade, it's Nightblood. Yeah. And that was that. after this interlude,
Yeah.
I read it and I didn't really think much about it. I read it a couple more times.
Yeah.
Because, like, the whole colour thing was really starting to bug me.
Yeah.
So when I went back to Zahil's earlier chapter,
Yeah.
he was making weird colour references
Metaphors,
again.
yeah.
So I'm now convinced that he is Vasha.
Okay.
Because he keeps talking about colours.
Okay.
And there's just something not quite right about him. Like, it mentioned the fact that he looks quite young, but his eyes look old.
Yeah.
Talks about colours. I think he even talks about a sword that he used to have.
Here he mentions there used to be a voice in his head that's not there anymore.
So yeah, I'm convinced that he is Vasha.
Okay.
And then our last interlude was Tarn.
Tarn?
Tarn.
Yeah? Oh, we got a Tarn interlude. I completely forgot there was a Tarn interlude. Cool.
It's Tarn's perspective. He's asleep.
Yeah.
Whilst Borin is talking to two people.
Yeah.
That we can only assume are Dalinar and Elhokar.
Yes.
And they're talking about the things that Tarn has been saying.
Yeah.
And they're trying to work out what's going on with him. Is he just a crazy person or is there something more?
Yeah.
And
well, he had a shard blade with him, didn't he? So they're like, something's going on here.
The poor guy has been stuck in their, like, other fiery world
for 4,500 years.
Well, 43,000 years.
43,000 years.
I'm pretty sure it's 43,000.
It's 4,500 years.
One of us is right.
I'm
right.
going
with me. So he's been stuck there for a very long time.
Yeah.
And he's just talking to himself about the Knights of Radiance over and over again.
Mm.
And that's kind of where we leave that interlude.
Yeah.
So obviously if he was talking to them, he must be on the Shadowed Plains.
Yeah.
But obviously they've not mentioned him in the story.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder if they're keeping him secret, maybe. Like maybe he's in the palace somewhere and they're still trying to, like, get to the bottom of him.
Yeah. I was going to say, was it different Dalinar and Elhokar, or was it?
It was definitely Dalinar and Elhokar.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure one of them is called Dalinar.
Yeah.
And then the other one references him as uncle.
Yeah.
So it has to be.
So it must be, yeah.
So that was part 2.
And then that was part 2?
Yeah.
So how are you feeling after part 2?
Part 2 was much more interesting. I'm so excited for part 3. Like, I want more duels.
Yeah.
I want some more shard plane fights.
Yeah.
I want Shallan to get here already.
Yeah.
I want Shallan to get here already so that her and Adolin can be, like,
so they can
together.
Start courting.
Oh, mate, they're going to do more than that. Like, they're so perfect together. So, yeah, that's part 2.
Cool. I think we'll call it there then, because we've been recording for 2 hours.
Cool.
This is a longer book. This is a much bigger book than the last one.
It's not that much bigger. It's just that there's so much.
There's a lot more going on, isn't there? It's
like the first book was a lot of setup.
Yes.
And now we're starting to get a bit of the payoff from that setup.
Yeah. Like, book 1 is a lot of depressed Kaladin. It's a lot of,
depressed Kaladin.
Politicking and stuff like that. But this is like duels, and Shallan's doing cool stuff, and her flashbacks start off with a bang,
Yeah.
No, I much prefer the way that Words of Radiance. I think Words of Radiance is just straight up a much better book than Way of Kings.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And it looks like you've got 4 pages of notes for part 3 alone.
1.
Oh my god.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I think
6 pages.
I think part 3 is going to be its own video.
Part 3 is the best part.
Part 3 is by far the best part. Part 3 is like peak Stormlight Archive for me. I love part 3 of Words of Radiance. So, thank you guys for watching. Join us next time where we're probably going to be talking about part 3 of the Words of Radiance. And follow us on 17thshard.com. Follow us on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. Follow us on Snapchat. And we have a Patreon, so give us money. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.